Welcome to the real, true American Patriot. We are reclaiming patriotism from the far right, who appropriated it for their own narrow nationalist interests. Just in time for the 250th anniversary of the founding of the Republic. In this episode, I take a step back from direct coverage of the Iran conflict to examine something just as dangerous: the language shaping it. From nuclear dust to Stone Age threats, what do these phrases actually mean? And what do they reveal about power, history, and escalation? I have been avoiding broadcasting about the Iran war, which is currently on hiatus or something. Blockades right now. First, there has been so much valuable discourse that anything I add would be superfluous. Second, words fail me. I cannot adequately express my sorrow about all the lives lost from Iran to Lebanon and everywhere in between, as well as the U.S., nor my sadness about everyone else who has suffered, including from damage to the world's economy. However, I do reserve the right to approach the subject of the Iran war tangentially as I am today. But first, we are beginning a new series that will appear from time to time under the auspices of the real true patriot. What do I mean by material? First, the obvious: subject matter or just plain content. Second, in this context, nuclear fuel such as uranium, the fuel of choice for starter nuclear weapons programs like Iran seems to be developing. Advanced programs such as the U.S. use plutonium-239. More on my fascination with nuclear weapons in a future episode of Nuclear Material. Right away, I feel like I am losing you. In light of how the subject either bores or frightens people, the episodes will be brief. Jumping right in. Would that the garbage spewing out of Trump's mouth lately be buried by a backhoe deep in Virginia landfill. Alas, it has escaped into the ether. In words seldom heard before in the history of the planet, Trump wrote on Truth Social, open quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again," close quote. Except for Hitler talking about the Jews, ChatGPT was unable to unearth another leader in the history of the world who has said this. But let's step away from the ledge for a minute and follow the path to the precipice on which we teeter. In late March, Trump said of Iran, open quote, "They are decimated right now. They're going to give up nuclear weapons. They're going to give us the nuclear dust," close quote. On another occasion, he said, open quote, "We want the nuclear dust. We're going to want that," close quote. As recently I heard him use the term again. I'm sure it gives many in the nuclear field pause, as in, what the heck is nuclear dust? Ostensibly, it was Trump's way of referring to the uranium that Iran had been enriching until the June 2025 airstrikes by Israel and the U.S. on Iranian nuclear facilities. However, stalled out on its path to the level needed for nuclear weapons, the uranium still resides in Iran. Trump's description of it as dust, according to ChatGPT, may be his way of saying that the U.S. wanted every last ounce of the material handed over, down to its smallest remnants. But highly enriched uranium is a solid material that can be turned into a gas during enrichment. That is, no dust or trace amounts of anything. Charitable to Trump, ChatGPT calls it a, quote, rhetorical flourish. Trump may have conflated it with his comment that after the U.S. strikes on nuclear facilities, there might be little left but dust. In other words, dust from the destruction of the facilities. Even before, all civilization will die tonight, and the day before, open the effing street, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Trump's remarks had taken a sadistic turn, even before that. At the 2026 Grammys in February, host Trevor Noah delivered a joke, however underwhelming, about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Trump responded on Truth Social by calling Noah a total loser and threatening to sue him. I didn't see anyone comment on what he said next, but to me it marked a turning point, or more accurately, a tipping point. Trump wrote, "Get ready, Noah. I'm going to have some fun with you." We all already know he was probably one of those kids who plucked the wings off flies, Trump that is, but I couldn't recall him ever taking such public delight in targeting a perceived enemy before. Continuing to spiral, in early March, Trump posted, "Watch what happens to these deranged scumbags, that is, Iranians, today. They've been killing innocent people all over the world for 47 years, and now I, as the 47th President of the United States of America, am killing them. I am. Okay. Killing them. What a great honor it is to do so," close quote. Then, in late March, continuing to dance on the graves of Iranians, he said, open quote, "If it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out," close quote. That's what your heart wants, is it, Donald? Circling back to his dust comments, Trump also said, "We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages." Obviously, that's a variation of another phrase that you don't hear much these days, even though that is what Israel has been doing to Gaza. To wit, the notorious phrase, open quote, "bomb them back to the Stone Ages," close quote. Let's go back to the Cold War. In World War II, General Curtis LeMay was the commander of the devastating bombing campaign against Japanese cities, including Tokyo. During the Cold War, he was head of the Strategic Air Command, which oversaw nuclear bombing. Then, during the Vietnam War, LeMay famously said of the North Vietnamese, "We should," open quote, "bomb them back into the Stone Age," close quote. One man's hard ass is another man's criminal. War criminal. I blew that one. One man's hard ass is another man's war criminal. This leads us to another bone-chilling phrase, sometimes attributed to LeMay, quote, "make the rubble bounce," close quote. Or perhaps it was uttered by one of the other equally heartless subsequent SAC, that's the Strategic Air Command to which I just referred, to one of the other equally heartless subsequent SAC commanders seemingly afflicted by a death wish, such as Generals Nathan Twining and Thomas Power. God, they were savage in those days. What "make the rubble bounce" means, according to ChatGPT, is, quote, "hit a target so hard and keep hitting it that nothing remains. Even the ruins are blasted apart again." The ruins are blasted apart again. Sometimes that quote is mistakenly attributed to Churchill. Trump never got there, fortunately. Instead, he issued the ceasefire. Did he taco? As in Trump always chickens out. Perhaps, but please let us stop using that term to make fun of him. When he, quote, chickens out, he is actually sparing us and other nations from one of his economically damaging plans, such as tariffs, or from lethal plans, such as invading Greenland, or mass bombing of Iran critical infrastructure. In other words, taco is Trump's lone virtue, though I'm loath to admit he has any. On NPR the other day, I heard an Iranian woman respond to his comments, open quote, "When Iran was in the Stone Age, we were more advanced than America." Yeah, burnt.